Wake up each day stronger than your past self.
You wake up each day carrying the weight of yesterday. Old habits, old reactions, old fears. The world does not pause to give you clarity, and it does not ask whether you are ready. It moves forward, indifferent to your inner state. This is not cruelty. It is simply reality.
Stoicism begins here, not with comfort, but with honesty. It asks you to look at your life without distortion and decide where your strength truly lies, not in controlling events, not in forcing outcomes, not in demanding certainty from a world that does not offer it. Strength begins in the mind, in the way you interpret what happens to you. Most people feel exhausted not because life is unbearable, but because they resist it constantly. They argue with the past, they fear the future, they cling to what they cannot keep. They measure themselves by standards they did not choose. Over time, this weakens judgment, clouds priorities, and creates a quiet inner instability that no achievement seems to fix. The Stoics did not promise happiness as an emotional state. They aimed for something sturdier, a mind that remains steady under pressure, a character that does not fracture under loss, and a sense of purpose that does not depend on praise, success, or favorable circumstances. To wake up stronger than your past self does not mean becoming harder, colder, or detached from life. It means becoming more precise, less reactive, less scattered, more governed by reason than impulse. It means learning each day to place your effort where it matters and to withdraw it where it is wasted. This is not a transformation that happens all at once. It is a discipline practiced quietly, daily, often without recognition. But over time, it changes the quality of your inner life. And from there, everything else follows. Most suffering comes from a basic confusion about power. You believe you have influence where you do not, and you neglect responsibility where you do. This confusion drains attention, fuels anxiety, and keeps the mind in a constant state of friction with reality. The Stoics were direct about this. Some things depend on you, some things do not. The line between the two is not vague, and it is not philosophical. Your judgments depend on you. Your choices depend on you. Your effort, your values, your restraint, your honesty, your willingness to endure discomfort without complaint. These are yours. The weather does not depend on you. Other people's opinions do not depend on you. The past does not depend on you. Outcomes, recognition, timing, and fairness do not depend on you. Modern life encourages you to forget this distinction. You're told that you should manage perception, shape narratives, optimize outcomes, predict the future, and secure constant emotional comfort. When these efforts fail, as they inevitably do, you blame yourself or the world. Both responses are mistakes. Anxiety is not produced by events. It is produced by the judgment that events must unfold a certain way in order for you to be at peace. Anger is not produced by injustice alone, but by the belief that reality owes you fairness on your terms. Fear of the future grows when you imagine outcomes while ignoring your capacity to respond well to whatever arrives. Stoicism does not ask you to be passive. It asks you to be precise. You act fully where action is possible, and you accept fully where it is not. This acceptance is not surrender, it is clarity. When the mind stops arguing with reality, it regains energy. When energy is no longer wasted on resentment and anticipation, it becomes available for discipline and judgment. Control is not expanded by gripping tighter. It is expanded by letting go of illusions. When you stop trying to manage what lies beyond your reach, you strengthen your command over what remains. This is not a loss. It is a concentration of power. Many people exhaust themselves trying to regulate the behavior of others. They rehearse conversations that will never happen. They replay slights. They attempt to correct misunderstanding through rumination rather than action. The Stoic response is simple. Other minds are not yours to govern. Your responsibility is to respond with reason, dignity, and restraint, regardless of how others behave. This is difficult because ego resists it. Ego wants validation. It wants to be seen as right, respected, acknowledged. When this desire goes unmet, it reacts with bitterness or withdrawal. Stoicism asks you to notice this reaction without obeying it. You are not required to prove your worth to anyone. Your worth is expressed through conduct, not applause. Loss of control often feels like weakness because it exposes uncertainty. But uncertainty is not an error in life. It is a condition of it. The Stoic trains not to eliminate uncertainty, but to function well within it. A steady mind does not require guarantees. It requires principles. Discipline begins with attention. You observe what enters your mind and decide what stays. Not every thought deserves engagement. Not every emotion deserves obedience. Feelings arise automatically, but actions do not. Between impulse and response, there is space. That space is where freedom exists. When anger appears, you do not argue with it, justify it, or suppress it. You examine the judgment beneath it. You ask whether the situation truly threatens your character, or only your preferences. In most cases, it is the latter. Preferences are not sacred. Character is. When fear appears, you do not try to eliminate it through reassurance or distraction. You ask what part of your integrity is at risk. If none is, then fear has no authority. If some is, then the task is not avoidance, but preparation. The Stoic does not aim to eliminate attachment entirely. Some attachments are natural. The aim is to recognize them clearly and ensure they do not override judgment. When attachment conflicts with virtue, virtue takes precedence. This priority must be practiced, not declared. Stoicism does not excuse injustice. It insists on responding to it with clarity rather than emotional excess. You act where action is possible. You speak where speech is appropriate, but you do not allow anger to erode your character. Losing your integrity in response to injustice only multiplies harm. Comparison is another quiet source of suffering. It distorts perception by focusing attention outward rather than inward. When you compare constantly, progress feels invisible because someone always appears ahead. The Stoic replaces comparison with measurement against one standard, your own capacity for reasoned action.
Each day becomes a practice. Did you respond with restraint? Did you act according to principle rather than impulse? Did you accept what you could not change without complaint? These questions ground progress in something stable.
Modern life rewards speed, reaction, and display. Stoic practice rewards deliberation, patience, and silence. This often feels like falling behind. In truth, it is opting out of a race that leads nowhere. Desire does not disappear when you restrain it. It becomes quieter, more precise. You still pursue goals, but you pursue them without staking your identity on their outcome. This changes everything. Success becomes something you welcome rather than need. Failure becomes information rather than a verdict. Ego resists this shift because it fears invisibility. But invisibility, in Stoic terms, is freedom. When you are not performing for approval, you regain the ability to act sincerely. When you no longer require recognition, you are less vulnerable to manipulation. Strength grows here, not the loud kind, but the kind that allows you to remain composed when others are unsettled, the kind that lets you walk away from empty pursuits without bitterness, the kind that keeps you aligned with your values, even when it costs you advantage. Waking up stronger than your past self means wanting less of what weakens you and more of what steadies you. It means choosing dignity over display, restraint over excess, and direction over distraction. This choice, repeated daily, reshapes the inner life in ways no external achievement can. As discipline deepens and desire becomes more measured, attention turns naturally to time. Not time as productivity or scheduling, but time as limitation. The Stoics treated this with seriousness, not fear. To them, the awareness of mortality was not a source of despair, but a tool for clarity. Modern life encourages you to forget that your time is finite. You are distracted, delayed, and absorbed in trivial urgency. Days pass in fragments, years blur. When loss or aging intrudes, it feels sudden, even though it was always approaching. This shock unsettles the mind because it reveals how casually time has been treated. Stoicism confronts this directly. You are not promised tomorrow. This is not a threat. It is a fact. When you accept it, priorities sharpen. You become less tolerant of waste, not only of time, but of attention and emotional energy. Fear of the future often comes from imagining a version of yourself unable to cope. The Stoic answer is not reassurance, but preparation. You strengthen the mind now so that whatever arrives later finds you capable. This shifts focus from prediction to readiness. Aging is often treated as decline. Stoicism treats it as instruction. Each stage of life carries its own responsibilities and limits. Resisting these limits creates bitterness. Accepting them allows dignity. You do not compete with your younger self. You refine your character in accordance with your present condition. Loss is unavoidable. People leave, roles end, health changes. When loss occurs, the untrained mind demands permanence from what was never permanent. The Stoic practices gratitude without possession. You value what is given while it is given, without insisting that it remain. This is not emotional detachment, it is emotional accuracy. Nothing in life is owned in the absolute sense. Everything is entrusted for a time. When this is understood, grief still exists, but it does not turn into resentment against reality. Mortality clarifies what deserves effort. Many conflicts, ambitions, and anxieties lose their urgency when measured against a limited lifespan. This does not make life empty, it makes it precise. You become careful with what you allow to occupy your thoughts. The Stoics practice daily reflection, not as self-criticism, but as course correction. You review the day honestly. Where did you act with reason? Where did impulse take over? Where did fear or desire override judgment? This reflection is quiet and factual. No condemnation, no indulgence. Fate in Stoic thought is not randomness. It is the totality of causes beyond your choosing. You meet it with consent or resistance. Resistance exhausts the mind. Consent preserves energy. Consent does not mean liking events. It means refusing to add unnecessary suffering through protest. Many people confuse acceptance with weakness. In truth, acceptance is what allows sustained effort. When you stop arguing with what has already occurred, you free attention for what can still be shaped. The past no longer competes with the present. Injustice and misfortune test this understanding. You Stoicism does not promise fairness. It promises coherence. Your task is not to secure outcomes, but to maintain integrity regardless of outcome. The future remains uncertain. Stoicism does not remove this uncertainty. It changes your relationship to it. You no longer require certainty to act well. You no longer delay virtue until conditions improve. You act according to principle now, trusting that this is sufficient. Impermanence also applies to the self. You are not fixed. Each day offers correction. Each morning allows renewal. You are not obligated to repeat yesterday's mistakes. You are not defined by previous weakness unless you choose to be. This is the quiet power of Stoic practice. It does not promise transformation through intensity, but through consistency. You adjust your judgments. You refine your responses. You accept limits. You prepare for loss without obsession. You live deliberately, knowing time is not infinite. Waking up stronger than your past self is not about erasing who you were. It is about refining who you are becoming. Time will move forward, regardless. The question is whether you move with it deliberately or are carried along without direction. Stoicism teaches you to walk in step with time, aware of its passing, unafraid of its end, and committed to using what remains with clarity and restraint. Each day you wake up, you are met with the same choice, whether you notice it or not. You can carry yesterday forward, unchanged, or you can meet the day with a slightly steadier mind. This is not a matter of motivation, it is a matter of alignment. Stoicism does not ask you to escape the world or to rise above it. It asks you to stand firmly within it, governed by reason rather than impulse, guided by principle rather than pressure. Strength, in this sense, is quiet. It does not announce itself. It shows in how you speak, how you wait, how you endure, and how you act when no one is watching. Waking up stronger than your past self is not about comparison. It is not about improvement, a spectacle. It is about reducing inner resistance, refining judgment, and placing your effort where it truly matters. Some days, progress will feel small. On others, it will be invisible. This does not mean it is absent. The world will remain unstable. People will remain unpredictable. Outcomes will remain uncertain. None of this disqualifies you from living well. The Stoics understood that a good life is not built on favorable conditions, but on consistent character. You are allowed to be human. You will falter. You will react poorly at times. Stoic discipline does not demand perfection. It demands correction. You return to your principles without drama. You adjust and continue. If this way of thinking resonates, it is because it addresses something timeless. The need for inner steadiness did not begin with modern life, and it will not end with it. The tools offered here are meant to be practiced, tested, and lived, not merely understood. If you wish to continue this practice, to refine judgment, strengthen discipline, and cultivate a resilient mind, you are welcome to walk this path with others who take it seriously. This channel exists for that purpose, not to inspire, but to clarify, not to promise ease, but to build steadiness over time. Return when you need grounding. Stay when you are ready to practice, and each day